In this video, we're going to learn how to communicate between MVC units as we perform a segue. So how does one view controller tell another view controller, here's what I'd like you to do. Here's the information that I'd like you to be aware of. So remember our needs work tag over here. When the user selects a row in the topics view controller, we want to tell the quote view controller, not only are you to take over the screen, but also here's the topic that the user has selected. Let's go back to the storyboard and look at a couple of things here. So you may recall that when we first created the topics view controller, it was the hard-coded topics, and we control dragged from each of the cells, or a couple of the cells, over to the quote view controller so it could display a quote. And now I don't want to control drag from this cell to this view controller. I don't want to make a hard-coded segue like this, because I need to know what's the topic that they chose, what's the topic of this cell, and be sure I let this view controller know exactly what the user chose. So we need to do a little prep work in the quote view controller. And then I'm going to show you a different way to do a segue, how to perform it programmatically, and how we communicate as part of that process. So recall in quote view controller that we had this segue, this exit modal scene target that let us drag into the exit icon and do an unwind segue. Well, we want another one that's like this, only this time we're going to name it, okay, let's see, we'll call this one show topic quotes. But the structure of it is going to be the same. It just needs to have a parameter that receives a UI storyboard segue. And now what we're going to want to do at this point is we're going to want to configure the quote view controller to display one of the topics that corresponds to the tag that's been chosen. And then we're going to want to provide some mechanism for letting the user scroll between or switch between, swipe or something, move between the quotes in this particular topic. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to add another property up here that is called topic, and it's going to be an optional string. And if that string is set, if that topic is a non-nil string, then I come in here to show topics, and I want to somehow configure the view controller to show the quotes for that topic. What I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to assign my title to be that topic. Now, since topic is optional, it could be nil. I'm going to do an if let current topic equal topic. So now I only do this if it's non-nil, and I probably should just use current topic here. Okay, and so now I'll at least see, did the communication work? We'll come back to implementing that later, the configuring to actually show quotes for that topic. Now over on this side, I need to be able to perform a segue programmatically. In order to perform it programmatically, we go to the storyboard and we build the segue in a slightly different manner. So instead of control dragging from a widget in the interface to something else, I'm going to control drag from the view controller. Now in this case, it's an unwind segue. So I'm going to drag to that unwind icon, and I'm going to choose that show topic quotes that I just created. Now, I'm going to go to my document outline view and look at the segue I just created. See right here, unwind segue to show topic quotes. Now here I get to put one of those fancy identifiers in there. So I'm going to call this segue identifier show quote. And oh, by the way, let me copy that so that when I go back into my topics view controller, first thing I'm going to do is put that into that storyboard constant structure here. I'm going to call it static let show quote segue identifier equal show quote. Okay, now when the user taps on a row, they did select a row at an index path. Then what I want to do here is I want to say, all right, first of all, I need to know, I need to store the selected topic. So I'm going to make a property, var selected topic, and it's going to be of type optional string again, just like topic in the quote view controller is. And here I'm going to say, okay, selected topic equals, and now, how do I know what topic just got selected? I have the index path of the row that got selected, so I can go back to the quote deck shared instance. Okay, quote deck shared instance, and I'm going to go to my tag set. This is the model, really, behind my this view controller. And so I'm going to ask indexPath.row, and that gives me the topic that corresponds to the selected index path. Now the other piece that I need is then to programmatically perform a segue. So we're going to say perform segue, and here it is, perform segue with identifier and sender. So the identifier is that one that I just put into that storyboard struct. So show quote segue identifier. The sender will be myself. And now I don't need the needs work anymore. We've done that. Now there's still a missing piece. This will perform the segue, but it won't communicate a title. Let me just prove that to you. Okay, so up comes building, 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 launching, attaching, there it is, show our topics. I choose duty, and it does segue back, but the title didn't change to duty. So now that means that there's one more piece that we need to communicate. So if I want to communicate some information to the view controller I'm segueing to, we go into our view controller lifecycle and we override a method called prepare. Prepare for segue sender. Okay, so this is it. Now here's the pattern. I'm going to ask, is the destination of that segue? So if let destination BC equals segue. So now that UI storyboard segue has a destination, it has an optional identifier, it has a source. Okay, but I'm going to look at the destination. And now I'm going to see, is this a quote view controller? And the way we do that in Swift is we do as question mark. And we say, try to cast this to a quote view controller. If it's doable, that works, then let's go ahead and execute the code inside of here. And if not, then it won't execute this code. So if that's true, then destination VC is a quote view controller, and it should have a topic property, and there it is, topic, and I can assign it my selected topic. That's why I had to save it in the did select row down below. I needed to be able to use it right here. So this is the selected topic assigned across. And now let's see if this lets me send that information as part of the segue. The answer is yes, but let's go verify it. Up it comes, we go to topics, I click on duty, and yeah, that's the tag that gets assigned to the title there. Now that's not really the behavior we want. We want to show a quote associated with duty. But what we've learned here is how, number one, how can I perform a segue programmatically? And number two, how can I communicate information as part of that segue? And this is a pattern that you'll use repeatedly as you need to decide how am I going to communicate information back and forth on a segue. This happens to be an unwind segue that we're performing, but you don't see anything in here about that being an unwind, so that doesn't matter. It's just, here's the identifier, perform that one, and continue. Okay, in the next video, we'll go work on quote view controller and actually display a quote for the selected topic.